Hello, my name is Mary Elizabeth Lovelace. Welcome back to Astro Heaven. I'm a fashion astrologer. I focus on fashion, beauty, sometimes astrocartography, but I specialize and I love fashion and beauty astrology because of my background with fashion and the fashion industry and just overall love for beauty and makeup and fashion and everything like that. However, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the time that I unknowingly used my midheaven. I went viral and I really panicked because I couldn't handle the attention and even all the money that was coming in and what I was receiving because I tapped into this energy that I didn't understand and I was way too young. And it almost wrecked me in a way because people don't understand, like, the energy of attention can be very intense when it's coming at you all at once and at an accelerated speed. Virality, even money and things like that, it can be extremely mentally disorienting to witness when it's happening to you all at once. And if you don't have a container or if you don't have systems built to stabilize the traffic and the influx coming in from the energy of attention and recognition that is coming from the energy of, attention, fame, recognition, money, etc., then you can really crash, you can burn out, you can really turn to dark places in your life because it's sort of like a dopamine hit. In a way, fame is very much like a drug, and you can get drunk off of it because it's really not that normal to receive that much attention all at once, all the time. And so what can happen is if you tap into your midheaven energy and you don't understand it and you don't really study it and you don't create the container to hold that energy for yourself and regulate, the equilibrium of fame and attention and the overall energy of the 10th house, you can crash and it can get very deadly actually, because a lot of celebrities will do this. They, hit their peak and then they come down and they can't come back up because they don't understand how to use the stairs when coming back down. They just jump, but there is a way to do it. And it also explains why so many celebrities or even influencers and businesses go out of business after their winning season is because they don't prepare for the fall. It's not really a fall. It's just like your energy trying to get back to its original momentum before you got up there, or creating a new normal for yourself. But most people, they hit a peak and then they fall because they don't understand how to ride the wave and then swim back to shore. They just jump deep into the ocean and then they're unable to come back up to the surface. Because the reality is, beyond astrology and spirituality, this is me speaking scientifically and neurologically, your brain cannot handle that amount of attention and success unless you have trained your nervous system to take it in. And it's very similar because I remember reading a Reddit post because I was honestly curious about the effects of heroin and cocaine, and I was reading stories from real life people who have had these substances. And I remember this one guy, he was saying how heroin feels so good it makes you wish that you never took it, because he said nothing else compares to that feeling. He said it's like having 10,000 orgasms all at once. And it's like, imagine that, okay? Imagine having that all at once and then it disappears, okay? Your body is longing for that again because now it knows life without it, right? And so fame, money, success, recognition, and attention can become a drug because you get used to that level of attention, you get used to that level of recognition, money, success, and fame. And when it disappears or when you enter, your down season, which is not a bad thing, it's just you're getting back to normal or your new normal. But if you can't handle that, life without that, then you can crash, you can turn to drugs, you can turn to substances, you can get into really unhealthy relationships because you're forever chasing that feeling that you got. So when I talk about the midheaven, this is actually very serious. And when you tap into the energy of it, it's inevitable. You will be successful, but can you handle the success is actually the real question. Can you contain it is the real question because it's inevitable once you use it. Okay, now back to my story. I was actually very young when this happened. I was around the age of 17 to 20 when this happened. This was my first peak period when I used my Midheaven. I didn't realize I was using it though. So it started on Twitter actually. I created this huge fashion brand on, well, not a brand, it's more of a blog. I created this huge fashion blog on Twitter. And according to my Midheaven, fashion is something that coincides with the planet that rules over my 10th house. And so unknowingly, I was tapping into my Midheaven. Overnight, I got all these followers, all these likes, all this attention. At first, it was like 4,000, and then it went up to like 20,000 followers, right, in the span of like 3 months. And then all these followers, and I was just posting about fashion, and this coincides with the Libra Midheaven, you know, Venus ruled things, which is, it makes sense. And then my tweets started going viral, and I'm not talking about like 50,000 likes. I'm talking about like 1 million likes, 100,000, 500,000 likes and retweets from this one Twitter account. Yes, crazy as hell, I know. But I was so young, I didn't know how to contain this energy. I didn't understand it. And I would just receive hate comments. And that's another thing with fame and recognition and success and attention. Your threshold for hate has to be greater than your threshold for being liked. Because on the other side of, I'll get right back to it, but I promise you, there's a little one thing. On the other side of love is actually hate, okay? This is very spiritual, this is very astrological, this is very real. This is actually the Scorpio-Taurus axis in Venus and Pluto. On the other side of love is hate. So that's the downside of this thing when you tap into your Midheaven. But anyways, back to my story. I received a lot of hate comments, and it was just too much for me because I was so young. I was like a teenager. I was like a baby, and it was just way too much for me at the time. And so I actually would go on little hiatuses. I would take breaks and then come back because the amount of attention was overwhelming. And then I wasn't getting paid for it either until Twitter started, you know, paying for the tweets if you blow up or whatever. But like, it was just literally too much energy being directed towards me. And when energy is stagnant, it will actually destroy you and eat at you because energy likes to move. And if you can't move the energy and funnel it somewhere like a YouTube channel, as a creator, an Instagram account, a product, a brand, if you can't take the attention that you're getting and if you're unable to funnel it somewhere, then you will crash and you will burn out, and your followers and your audience will eat you alive because you have to now move this energy into somewhere else because it's energy that you've created being generated, you know, from your Midheaven. And then when I released my product, it was because I sort of came to my senses and I'm like, okay, if people like my fashion blog and my reposts and my mood boards and my aesthetics, then maybe I can be even more useful for them. I was honestly trying to help. I'm like, okay, let me create a Notion, what's it called? A Notion planner it was a Notion planner. I created a Notion template for outfits. So basically you can upload your outfits into the template, and it's a way to make your life easier. You know, when waking up in the morning, you know, you have your outfits laid out. I don't know, I'm kind of psychotic like that. I love routines, and I used it. So I'm like, hey, maybe this can help someone else to have, you know, their outfits pre-planned, because I got this idea from the movie Clueless, and I was obsessed with that morning scene where she swiped the screen and she chose her outfits. And so I built a website, you know, for my fashion blog, and I turned it into sort of like a business, and then I uploaded the Notion wardrobe organizer template onto my website just to see, you know, who would buy it, and two, if it would be useful for anyone else, because it was useful for me. And then I don't want to say overnight, but over the course of maybe like 2 to 3 weeks, I received a maximum return, and it was just very overwhelming for me as a teenager transitioning from teenagehood into adulthood. And it was just very debilitating because, you know, I was used to, you know, as a teenager, I worked like little jobs like at the coffee shop or at Jamba Juice or frozen yogurt or retail. You know, that's what I was used to. I was used to like working for money and getting really small checks, like $400, $500. And so it's like when I made like $3,000 in the span of like 8 days from one product, it kind of altered my brain chemistry. And I literally It was just too much. My nervous system couldn't handle it, and I didn't understand where this energy was coming from. And I love astrology too, so I was actually looking for this, like what this was, what this energy was, and where it was coming from, because I did something different as well. I unknowingly started branding myself like my midheaven. So I have a Libra midheaven. I would just post things that coincided with the Libra midheaven, unknowingly tapping into this sacred energy. And then my vibe is just very fun and flirty and feminine, which is also the Libra midheaven. And it was just the energy of my fashion blog. And I just didn't understand it at all. But I connected it to astrology because I actually studied my chart. Because I'm a Sagittarius rising, moon, and Venus. So it's like, this isn't really Sagittarius energy. I was like, this has to be something else, because something literally is not adding up, because this is not my Sagittarius energy. Like, this is someone else. I don't know who this is, but it's not me, right? It's that sort of paradox that happens when you have to create like a false persona as an artist, or even as a business, when you're finding your own branding. It's that paradox. And so I used derivative astrology. I looked into the Book of Rulership by Rex Bills, and I studied the concept of Saturn, business, money, and fame and recognition. And that's when I came across the midheaven, and that's when it all started clicking together. But more often than not, and more likely than not, I had to learn how to contain and prepare for success and create the container for success. So when it came through, and when it comes again, to me, I can better contain it and control it, and it won't eat away at me and deplete me. And that looks like tapping into your midheaven. Your midheaven is actually the container for your success. It is what holds your abundance. The 10th house is right after the 9th house, which is Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules Jupiter, which rules abundance. Abundance comes in an overflow, but if you can't hold that abundance, it slips away from you. That's where Capricorn comes in. Saturn sets the standards, sets the rules, sets the structure. The midheaven is the structure of your success, of your branding, of your aesthetics. That is how you contain it, but it's the energy of it. And so I had to take a step back from my fashion blog. I'm coming back to it in 2026, but at the moment I'm rebranding, and I'm fixing up my store, and I'm fixing the way that I want to provide value to my followers and my audience. Because before, I was just a teenager. I was just having fun, seeing what works, throwing stuff to a wall, seeing what sticks. It's like I wasn't really an adult yet. I didn't have any real responsibilities. I was doing it, but like I just didn't, it was just very wishy-washy. But now that I'm older, I understand what it is. And so in 2026, she's coming back, my fashion blog, and it's going to be even better than before. But it's all because I tapped into my midheaven, and I learned how to contain the energy of success. And you can do the same, honestly. There will be more videos coming out soon about each and every midheaven and how they use it. Like, I'm talking deep dives. But right now, I have a limited amount of midheaven videos on my channel, but more are coming out soon. If you want to know about your midheaven in a marketing and branding standpoint, like your sales strategy and visual identity and etc., go check out my other videos, because I talked about all of the midheavens and their sales strategy and their overall aesthetic and vibe and marketing and branding. And if you want to go deeper into your midheaven and truly understand it and use it actually right now to scale your business and solidify your personal brand and image as a creator or an artist, then I highly recommend you to get the Midheaven Masterbook. I go over all 12 of the signs, or get the Midheaven Bundle, which is all of my Midheaven ebooks for a very low price, by the way. Or if you're not really interested in the branding aspect of it, but the more corporate career route, I do have a Midheaven ebook about all of the careers for all of the midheavens, and what type of jobs and career fields or even business ideas would work best for you according to your midheaven, and it's all aligned. Also, if you want to know your exact sales strategy for your midheaven and how to really capitalize off of your midheaven and get success, recognition, followers, likes, but also if you have a business to really scale that, I highly recommend the Dark Midheaven Sales Strategy ebook. I tap into deep sales psychology mixed in with astrology because I do have a finance background. I know some lore, but I do have a background in finance, and I do have a background in sales. And so I sort of blended my knowledge on sales and my 6-year study on astrology into different ebooks depending on the midheavens, and I bundled them all together. So if you're interested in that, definitely look at my website and check out those ebooks. Only if you're interested and only if you can handle it. Honestly, not everyone can handle the logic and the precision of business, of sales. And I honestly get it. It's not for everyone. I'm not for everyone, and I do not want to be for everyone. There's only really a select few of people who can really handle and implement this information and can really understand me. Oh my God, I'm walking. I apologize. I tripped over a walk. But anyways, there's only a select few group of people who can really understand me. And so if these books aren't for you, I understand. But I really hope you enjoyed my YouTube video. I really hope you enjoyed my channel in general. And to keep up with me, follow me on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. Everything is linked down below. I love you so much, and stay tuned for the next video. I'll see you later.